Aloha and welcome back, in fact, to the first edition of KOK Question Time. Just a quick note on KOK. The way that started was my enemies started writing KOK for short because, of course, if you say KOK, it's cock, right? And they obviously did that as an insult to me, but I actually thought it was kind of cool, actually. I mean, KOK sounds cool. It looks cool, so I adopted it. And it's short. It's shorter than saying Ken O'Keefe. So KOK became a sort of an adopted, abbreviated form of my name, and that's why I use it. Just a little tidbit for you. Okay, so the KOK Question Time, edition number 1. I just posted a video a few hours ago. There's been a lot of responses and a lot of different questions, a lot of really good questions as well. It's making me think that I might do a live program on a regular basis and where I can just answer a lot of these questions. And I can't possibly answer all the questions in this, but I'm going to answer the top one so far, which is a good one, an excellent one actually. The question is, can the Federal Reserve be abolished? Can we abolish the Federal Reserve? So in a word, yes, absolutely. In fact, a better world requires the abolishment of not just the Federal Reserve, but the entire central banking system. Keep it in mind that the Bank of International Settlements is effectively at the top of that pyramid structure. And there's some very fascinating stuff about the BIS, which is there in Switzerland. It is very unique. It's got its own little jurisdiction. The security around it is just incredible. The people who work there have effectively diplomatic immunity and all sorts of crazy stuff, which shows the parallel universe that the bankers live in with all the rest of us. You know, one of the things that I carry with me in my wallet is this right here. For those of you who might not know, but this is a very interesting $5 bill. Not your typical one. It is actually 1963 issue, and if you look at a $5 bill in America, you're going to see that it says Federal Reserve note. But if you look at this one here at the top, which you probably can't read it, but hopefully the picture will be clear enough, that actually says United States note. Now, John F. Kennedy authorized the issuance of these United States notes back in 1963, about 6 months before he was taken out. Now, he was doing a lot of other dangerous things, such as insisting that the American Zionist Council, the precursor to AIPAC, which pretty much runs America, is sort of a proxy for the real powers that be. JFK was effectively issuing non-Federal Reserve notes. Now, I know that certain people out there, including James Corbett, who I respect very much, and others who've adopted his position say that, oh, he wasn't really tinkering with the Federal Reserve and it wasn't really a threat to the bankers. And I've read the arguments and I just simply disagree. I'm not going to get into the details of why I disagree, but at the end of the day, we have a difference of opinion. And I'm not going to waste time debating this issue. At the end of the day, Kennedy was doing a lot of dangerous things. Now, let me make a point here that I haven't really seen other people talk about, but it's very, very clear to me. I'm sure some people must be saying this, but right now we see the World War III agenda just really in overdrive. This picking of a fight with Russia is just incredible. I mean, you know, whatever. Russia's not a perfect nation. It's got its own problems, and I definitely don't think that Russia or Putin is the savior of humanity. I am not in that club. However, to be picking a fight with Russia, especially over all these contrived bullshit reasons, you know, blaming Russia for instigating fights when it's NATO that is surrounding Russia, when it's our so-called defense systems that are offensive to the extreme, and economic sanctions, which is economic warfare, which Iran knows very well, of course, because they've been dealing with the economic warfare or economic terrorism that the United States wields with its petrodollar system, which of course works hand in hand with the Federal Reserve System, which works hand in hand with the central banking system which dominates the world. And then we look, of course, at all of the nations that we target, which is interesting now, isn't it? I know many others have said this, but a lot of people still aren't aware of the fact that if you believe in coincidences that you'll dismiss this, but look at all the nations that we target. North Korea, Iraq, Syria, Libya, all of these nations, Venezuela as well, what do they have in common? They were all getting off the U.S. system and don't have Rothschilds-controlled Zionist, Jewish supremacist central banking systems in place. Those are the ones we target. And then we can also look at Adolf Hitler, which is always interesting to bring up Adolf Hitler. Boy, oh boy, do we set off the nerves as soon as we bring that name up, because we're all told that he is evil incarnate, he is Satan himself, and ultimately he committed the very worst crimes imaginable, which I find to be quite a disgrace and insult given the fact that my birth nation, the United States, continues in the 21st century to use depleted uranium, which we know for a fact the effects of radiation on human physiology, because we've done human experiments to determine the effects of radiation, and the United States continues right here in the 21st century to use depleted uranium against its enemies, including Iraq in particular, to such a degree that ultimately the doctors in Fallujah, the place that we absolutely devastated in Iraq, doctors have given advice to women to not have babies. The situation is so bad. So you can say whatever you want about Hitler. I don't recall him doing such things, and if he did do such things, then he did it nearly 100 years ago, 80 years ago, whereas we're doing it today. Aside from that, my birth nation experiments on human beings. I myself was a human guinea pig during the first Gulf War. 600,000 plus of us were ordered to take experimental drugs. Ultimately, many died from what's known as Gulf War syndrome. This is again in the 20th century, and it was carried on into the 21st century with a cover-up preventing people from identifying exactly the root causes of Gulf War syndrome, which lie directly at the feet of these experimental drugs. But Adolf Hitler, for all he's accused of, this is not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the real crime of Adolf Hitler, which very few people know, and has been outlaid very, very well in a film called Hellstorm, which I highly recommend, and also The Greatest Story Never Told. Get ready, 6-7 hours long. It might take a few sittings, but boy, oh boy, are you going to get an education if you watch either of those two films. The real crime of Adolf Hitler, and the real reason why Judea declared war on Hitler, is because he said fuck you to the Jewish bankers and the debt that was drowning Germany. Literally, Germans were starving, and Germany was drowning in a cesspool of moral decay. This is the real reason why Hitler is Satan himself, and evil personified. And it is, coincidentally enough and funny enough, what John F. Kennedy did. He took on the bankers with the issuance of United States notes. So it is absolutely imperative that we get rid of the Federal Reserve System. And anybody who has any kind of knowledge understands that it is the bankers who rule America. Think about this insult to everyone. I find this really quite laughable, and I have to give the bankers some credit actually for this. They keep saying that, not just in America, all throughout Europe, around the Western world, around the world for that matter, that we're in debt. We have to pay off the debt. We've lived beyond our means. Well, who are we in debt to exactly? Yeah, sure, some of that money will be China. We owe China money, and we owe some other nations money who buy our bonds and all this kind of stuff. But who do we really owe the money to? Where do our taxes actually go? Our taxes don't go to buy any infrastructure. We don't pay for healthcare or roads or maintaining bridges or anything like that with taxes. No, we pay interest on the debt that we never needed to pay in the first place. It is actually quite a scam. I do honestly have a certain level of respect for the scam that has been played on the people of the world who are paying interest to who? The richest of the rich, while you're all slogging it away trying to earn money to pay your bills, take care of your family, keep a roof over your head. The bankers insist that you owe them money. The Rothschilds, a family itself that has trillions of dollars. It could feed, clothe, and house every single human being on the planet, and we owe them money. That's chutzpah for you. I tell you, man, if you can get away with that shit, I have to pay you some level of respect. But I have a feeling, actually I'm quite confident, that at some point the people of the world are going to realize the fucking madness of what it is that you've been pulling over our eyes. This is mind-boggling. Now, there's one thing that I'm going to say in parting on, can we get rid of the Federal Reserve? Of course we can. The one thing that I'll say with that is that this World War III agenda is in overdrive. Russia picking a fight with Russia, Iran, all over the place, Syria, all over, war. We have to have war. Because these assholes, these prostitutes in government, these puppets, they work for the bankers. Make no mistake about that. But why is it happening even more than normal right now? I'll tell you why. Because for the first time in human history has there been a mainstream growing awareness of alternatives to the existing monetary system. And specifically what I'm talking about is cryptocurrencies and the rise of cryptocurrencies. Now, there are problems within cryptocurrencies, but there are many solutions within the cryptocurrency system. The blockchain system itself has the capacity, very much so, to remove all fraud, really, literally. So those of us who want to do good work, and believe you me, blockchain has something to do with what I'm involved in, we can do things in a completely transparent way. In fact, virtually eliminate fraud, which, who are the biggest criminals and fraudsters? The bankers. Who launders most of the money in this world? It's the banks, for Christ's sake. And yet they use money laundering laws to oppress us. I couldn't even get a bank account in Dominica. Literally. Not in my own personal name, nor in a company name that I was a director of. And they just said, "No, sorry, we choose not to do business with you." Can I ask why? No, we're not at liberty to say why. Because it's the fucking bankers, and they're not my friends, and they know full well who I am, for Christ's sake. And we will never know freedom as long as that system is in place. That is the head of the snake, and it's the cryptocurrency rise in understanding the alternative monetary policy that we can create. That is why the Third World War is in overdrive. And while I'm saying that, I hear my enemies now, oh, he's asking for money again. Listen, some of you cryptocurrency bastards, I say that in a loving way, some of you have made a lot of money. Respect to you for having gotten in early on Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff. Listen, I have my Bitcoin wallet address, and I think Litecoin, Ethereum, and whatnot. Hey man, throw a little over here, okay? I promise you I'm going to do good work with it. That's what I'm all about. And by the way, my mission, World Citizen, believe you me, it incorporates some of this understanding into it. So, this isn't about making money. This is about creating a better world. And for sure, those who are tinkering with the monetary system, well, you're tinkering with the most dangerous game of all. And you know what? Let us not be afraid. Let us charge full speed ahead and confront these bastards who are running our world with the monetary system. Indeed, we can abolish, and we will abolish, the Federal Reserve Bank and more of the central banks. Make no mistake about that.